So this is one of those games of StarCraft 2 where the replay file size is over a megabyte big. Now I can imagine that for the vast majority of people that doesn't mean anything, but let's just say that the average game of StarCraft that I cast on this channel, it's probably between like 200 to maybe 500 kilobytes or so, and the average game of StarCraft 2 on the ladder is probably like 100, okay? Because the vast majority of the games, they do end very early. That being said, this game, it's not that long. I think it's like 30 minutes long, and usually, this is some very niche information, but usually whenever there is a game that is over a megabyte big, it's also a game that's immediately like an hour long. But this game is, I guess there's gonna be a lot of action, there's gonna be a lot of movement around the map. I'm excited to find out. Either way, I have it on good authority that this particular game is amazing. We find ourselves once again on the map Gresvin, as basically every single game that I cast these days seems to take place on this particular map. But spawning right here in the top left corner, playing with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, we have a previous world champion of StarCraft 2, one of the all-time greats and one of the current best players in the world. We're looking inside of the main base of Dark. Now his opponent, and this is why this series is so interesting to me, or why this particular game is so interesting to me, his opponent playing right here with the blue Protoss pieces. I have featured him before on the channel, but not in a very long time. From China, we're looking inside of the main base of Cyan. Not teal, not turquoise, not even cerulean, okay? We're looking inside of the main base of Cyan. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, Cyan has been playing this game for as long as I remember. He's always been really good, but not quite at Dark's level. And I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever, it's just that Dark, you know, the guys that I regularly cover on this channel, they're very, very good at the game. Cyan going toe-to-toe right here against somebody like Dark is going to be an absolute treat. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that Dark is going to be the clear favorite going into this one just because Dark doesn't really lose. And like I said, this is a rather long game of StarCraft 2, even though it's maybe not an hour long, it's still a rather long game. And Dark's late game Protoss versus Zerg, or I guess from his perspective, Zerg versus Protoss, is absolutely amazing. So we'll see. We'll find out together exactly what ended up going down here. A couple of Zerglings have made their way towards the other side of the map before the Adept is going to be a nuisance, because the first Adept has already gone towards the other side as well. Second Adept, though, is going to be able to clear out those links pretty easily, but this is still going to be some nice information right here for Dark, who now knows that he's going up against a Stargate opener. I know. Crazy idea. One drone ends up going down here, but I don't think that that is quite worth it, especially because now taking the third base is going to be a little bit trickier. You really do want to try and keep those units alive for as long as possible because, well, you can also just YOLO the probe there. That's always an option, but somebody like Dark, he could make anywhere between like 3 Zerglings. Or I guess he would have to lose one, or maybe kill one of his own. That'd be a little bit strange. Anyways, he would have anywhere between like 3 and 30 Zerglings at this point. It's a little bit difficult to judge exactly what Dark does, and that's exactly why he's so good at the game. I do like this bodyguard over here, though. That does look pretty cool. But here come the Zerglings, trying to just, prevent this third base for a little while. Oracle has decided to not commit to defending the base. Alright, and instead it's gonna go straight across the map. That does mean that the base is gonna be delayed for about 15, 20-ish seconds. 2 drones, though, killed on the other side of the map. I guess that sort of makes up for it. But here come all those Zerglings. So this is a bit uncommon. Generally speaking, we do not see 21 Zerglings at this point in the game. But this is Dark we're talking about. I feel like Dark, especially when he... I don't know, I'm just hypothesizing here, right? I'm just thinking out loud here. But I feel like whenever Dark is going up against somebody who he feels like he's quite a bit better than, right? So he thinks he's gonna be able to shut you down pretty easily. He makes far more Zerglings than he would against, like, for example, I don't know, a hero. Or, for example, a classic or a max specs. He probably hopes that he can win this game nice and early and continue onwards with whatever he has been doing, but as I've said many times before as well, oftentimes I feel like Dark's early game, it's really not his strong suit. Like, if you look at the work account right now, these Zerglings could have been 10 drones or so, right? That's significant. These links are just gonna sit around here and, well, maybe run around, right, and kill an Adept if they're very lucky, but generally speaking, they're not gonna be able to get that much value. Either way, third Nexus at this point is finished. Shield battery here is going to keep this alive pretty easily. Yeah, battery overcharge, certainly going to be helpful. And now the Oracles have decided to dive into the main base of the Zerg. They're going to go after the Queen. That's a cheeky little move. Okay, I actually don't mind it at all. Okay, one misfire there. Okay, alright, in the end, that's actually really quite good. a queen and 5 drones. I don't think you could really hope for a whole lot more. Plus, he kept all of those oracles alive. Albeit with a lot of health lost right there, a lot of hull damage that they will not be able to get back. Fun fact, by the way, in team games of StarCraft 2 in 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, you can actually use your allies' SCVs to repair your Protoss units. So there is a way to repair these bad boys back up to full, but in a Protoss versus Zerg, gonna be a little bit tricky to pull off. Looks like Cyan is already thinking about making a 4th Nexus. At the very least, that's where those Zerglings do come in handy. They see this coming in from a mile away. But is there anything that Dark can really do about it? He's got himself an evolution chamber over here, so +1 melee is gonna finish up. But since all of the oracles are still around, yeah, there's the 4th Nexus started. I don't think there's really a whole lot that Dark can do about this. Blink, together with the +1 ground weapons here, is coming up as well for Cyan. This is still a little while away from finishing, but as long as he doesn't commit too early, I think he should be okay. That being said, he's starting to dance on the edge of creep here. This is definitely a little dangerous, though, because this is before those upgrades are done, and +1 melee for Zerg is going to kick in right now. There's going to be about 10-15-ish seconds here, where Dark is going to have a pretty significant advantage, and it looks like Cyan has walked straight into the trap. Yeah, those are the types of moves you cannot afford making at this level of play. Yep. Alright, so that's actually quite unfortunate, because normally Protoss kind of relies on that tempo advantage here, and losing a bunch of Stalkers certainly is going to make the tempo here go in favor of Dark, but I don't really know exactly if Dark can do much about this 4th Nexus here. That 4th Nexus, it looks like it's going to finish up, and once shield batteries can start overcharging here with that Nexus done, life is going to be pretty straightforward here for the Protoss economy. So, despite the fact that I do believe he could have saved those 4 Stalkers by simply not moving out, or moving out 10-15 seconds later, he's got himself a stellar economy. And at this point, I mean, worker-wise, he's in a very good position. Alright, we're going to try again. Of course, this attack is going to be quite a bit weaker than it could have been, but yeah, this is still a formidable army. Dark, of course, has been quite slow on the droning, all things considered, so even though he hasn't lost that many troops here in total, his army could have been a little bit larger if he would have focused on droning a bit earlier on into the game, because those workers obviously would have been able to gather a bit more. There's one Zergling here pretending to be in stasis. Not on Cyan's watch, though. Okay, good blink. Very nice blink. So I'm assuming, by the way, that these games are taking place on the Korean StarCraft 2 server, so there might be a little bit of ping right here for our Chinese Protoss, although I don't really know exactly where Cyan is currently located, of course, but... One fun fact, by the way, I found out about this just now, as I was preparing a little bit for this video. Apparently, Cyan was born on the 28th of October, 1992, which is 1 day before me. There you go, there's your... I'm old, yes! I know some of you are wondering, Lowko, how old are you? I'm old, okay? I'm basically ancient. But turns out Cyan is, you know, ancient plus 1 day, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Anyways, Nidus Worm coming up right here for Dark, as he's starting up a transition towards what seems to be, yeah, that what is it called? Roach Ravager, Ling Bane type of army. Banelings are finally coming up right now, which is nice. With +2 melee, of course, at least in the current StarCraft 2 patch. They're still going to be able to one-shot those probes. Although, they're thinking about changing that. We'll have to see if those changes do go through, but it does seem like the Baneling nerf is very likely to make it out. Alright, Dark Shrine coming up as well here for Cyan, who really is doing an excellent job here, dancing on the perimeter of the creep. Here's a little Roach Zergling counterattack, though. Where's the Nidus Worm gonna go? I'm assuming here in the back of the main base is the likely choice. 5th Nexus, by the way, finishing up as well on the right side of the map. Zealots over here, standing in the middle of creep. Prism in the top right-hand corner, trying to be annoying, but it looks like Dark is on top of everything here, not really taking a lot of damage. I think that this Overlord will probably provide the vision that it's gonna need in order to put down that Nidus Worm. But it looks like it's not really a rush, right? He's just sort of got it right now. Maybe he wants to go into Lurkers here eventually, too. Lurkers and Nidus Worms are a match made in heaven. Prism gonna go into the main base, but Dark already prepared with not only the Queen, but also the Spore Crawler. Quite annoying, actually. Although the Prism does have a nice little safe spot there in the top left. Is it worth recalling the Prism? A little hard to say. Zealots over here are getting cleaned up as well, but look at the worker count, right? Yes, Dark is doing an excellent job, But Cyan is at 89 workers right now versus 79 of the opponent. Now he's got to be careful that he doesn't lose huge clumps of stalkers here, but those oracles from the early game, they survive with very small amounts of HP, but they're still around and they're still kicking and they're still shooting little laser beams right here at the Zerglings and the Roaches. Alright. So strategically here, Cyan is making a transition not towards Skytos, which is pretty cool. Instead, he's decided to go straight into Colossus play. So we've got ourselves a second robo facility finishing up. And he's making quite a few of those Colossi here. And now the Nidus Worm, by the way, has been detected in the main base. Very quick reaction speed right there by Cyan, who's going to be able to shut this down before it lays eggs. In the meantime, though, Zerg is making itself up for another attack here. It seems Banelings starting to slip through the cracks. Okay, that's 15 probes going down over there, and maybe even more of them will fall. Zerglings over here at the 5th base. And this is where Dark is so dangerous, right? Like, you give this man a finger and he will take your entire hand. That's the Dutch version of the saying, okay? I like it a lot better. You give a man an inch, he takes a mile. We don't use inches and miles over here in the Netherlands. Anyways, that is such a Dark move right there, where it seems like he's starting to fall behind, and then he's like, you know what? No. 35 probes down the drain. 37 in total. Obviously, that was quite an expensive set of units as well for the Zerg player to lose. Love that Phoenix, by the way. Making sure that he's not gonna lose there against the Nidus Worm on the back of this, but that was a little bit unfortunate. That being said, Cyan still has a stellar economy, and it's important here for Zerg to not overestimate their position. Honestly, I'm not even really sure if this is an advantage for Zerg, but after killing that many probes, you do certainly feel like you are miles ahead. 2 more robo facilities coming up. Oh, actually, no. That's just the first 2 that when the... Yeah, okay. This is like the reincarnation right here of the lost robo facilities. Big attack over here. Hold up right now. I'm gonna back up, sorry. So, this is Cyan on a little adventure out in the middle of the map. And that's a major error, it looks like. The thing is, you really cannot afford to lose those units that take forever to produce. Now the oracles show up, which is nice and all, but that's 1 more Colossus down the drain. I don't know if these Zerg units are going to be able to go home, though. Yeah, and Dark is playing this unit composition, right, that we see all the time. But usually, whenever we see the Zerg unit comp, it's played off of a higher worker count or a bigger bank. At this point, yeah, Dark is getting a lot of value off. But it's not like he's trading super cost efficiently here either. Now, the fact that he is actually matching the Protoss here in resources lost is obviously very good, but again, it's very easy here as Zerg to overestimate the situation and to assume that you're very far ahead. But I actually don't think that's necessarily the case. An army of changelings moving forward as well, pretending to be a zealot run by. You love to see it. Nice little link counter attack over here up north. Can we do a revelation right away? Oh, sorry. Oh, I accidentally pressed the B button. Loko, no! Professional commentator, confirmed. Alright. We get to witness the Zerglings do it once again. This is a problem and an issue I've had in casting games for many, many years, and I really should fix it. So here's what happens, right? For those of you wondering why this occasionally happens in my casts. The button to back up about 10-15 seconds in a game of StarCraft 2 is hotkey B. But the hotkey for vision, to see what the opponent... Okay. What the players can exactly see in a match is a V. So V and V are right next to each other. There you go, it's blocked. Anyways, sometimes I accidentally press the wrong hotkey because I'm not actually with my hand on the keyboard the entire time. I'm scratching my chin here, of course. Thinking about exactly what I need to be saying next, that sort of thing. The Hero Swarm Host coming up right now. That's a misclick, not what Dark actually plans on making. And I was thinking maybe we're gonna go for like a lurker transition because we do have that Nidus network, but instead it's gonna be an Ultralisk Cavern. Baneling roll-by here attempted once again, and a couple of the Banes do slip through the cracks. That's 11 probes going down. Couple of Banes over here as well, thinking about doing the same thing here over at that 5th base. And what started off as an amazing game for Cyan, I really did like his position earlier. It's not looking nearly as hot anymore as it did a few minutes ago, right? Like when he was sitting at like 90 workers versus like 80 workers for the Zerg, and he had that ground transition coming up with the Colossus and everything. I like the position a whole lot better. Still though, not a terrible spot right here for him. Yeah, he still has economy to max out and build whatever army he likes. Now, what's interesting here to me is that Cyan has not really made any attempts yet to go for that Skytools transition. We've seen a similar thing lately in the Protoss versus Terran matchup where... Oof, that hatchery just barely survived. We've seen a similar thing in the Protoss versus Terran matchup where a lot of Protoss players are not really too keen to go into Skytools units right from the start. And instead they focus a lot more on robo facilities. It seems like Cyan is doing the same thing right now against Zerg as well. Like, this would be a moment to add on additional Stargates and a fleet beacon and to start making carriers, but instead he decided to go into High Templar with Storm. Now, he is on a timer. Lurkers are coming up. Lurkers and Brute Lords are amazing units when it comes to shutting down Protoss ground armies. And one of the reasons why we normally do see that Skytools transition is exactly that. In this case, though, I guess that Dark hasn't really shown his opponent that he is planning on transitioning towards anything, and I guess Cyan is saying, yo, if you're not gonna transition towards Lurkers or Brute Lords or anything like that, I will just stick around on a ground unit composition myself. And at this point, he is maxed out. This is a Protoss army that packs a punch. Another thing that's interesting here, though, is that he doesn't actually have Colossi, sorry, he doesn't actually have Disruptors. Instead, he's got Colossi, together with Templar. Very strange. This is why I love casting StarCraft 2 games, though, from different areas of the world, because it's clear that the Chinese guys are cooking up some different strategies. And you know what? They may very well be onto something. I'm always inclined to imagine that the Koreans are at the forefronts of coming up with new strategies and build orders in the game, but it's not always the case. Fleet Beacon coming up right now for Cyan. So this is a good couple minutes later than you would ordinarily see it in a Korean game of StarCraft 2 or a European one, but I don't mind it. Now, this is awkward. Cyan's maxed out, so he can't warp in units to stop this Nidus. So instead, he now decides to commit forward. Don't exactly know if there's anything inside of the worm. No, at this point, this was mostly, I guess, just a distraction. Second Nidus also coming up. Okay, now that we've lost some units, we can start warping in Dark Templar for base defense, which is nice and all, but they sliced up a Baneling and accidentally, shot themselves in the foot. Not quite ideal. Adept over here, though, helping out quite a bit, and in the end, this is gonna get cleaned up. There was a little bit of a Baneling roll-by over there as well, with 6 probes going down, but Cyan has done an amazing job over the last few minutes, really clearing out a lot of the Zerg's economy. Yeah, at this point, I mean, we've seen a lot of explosives, I guess, on the side of the Zerg. Well, from the Zerg, on the side of the Protoss, I guess, with 55 of those probes going down, but Cyan's been killing 29 in total as well so far in this game, which is nothing to scoff at. Okay, I think the age of the Roach is well over at this point, though, as we do indeed now start up that transition towards Lurkers. At the same time, Disruptors are coming up here for Cyan. He's taking another base all the way up north. I think making some Nidus Worms over here, or some Nidus Worm shutters over here, right? Some photon cannons over here that can shut it down would be really neat. Anyways, once again, Dark going in for another Baneling roll-by. Cyan pulls the probes over here, does not pull the probes, however, in the top right-hand corner, and that is going to be an expensive set of units. In the meantime, though, he is, okay, attacking a base over here. 23 additional probes have gone down, though, and that is quite painful. But we're also now at the moment where I don't think we need... You know, we don't need 90 workers anymore at this point. You don't really want to be caught with, like, too much supply dedicated here to workers either, because obviously supply that's caught up in workers with the 200 max could have also been army. Okay. More Disruptors coming up. Worker count still looking healthy right here for both players. I actually think it's a little bit better for Cyan, though, because this is a unit composition that... I guess now with the Lurkers coming out here as well, this is a unit composition that does sustain itself reasonably well. Nearly 20 minutes into the game. I'm still inclined to imagine here that Dark is at an advantage just because he's Dark and his late game is excellent, but Cyan is certainly putting up a fight, and I actually think, like, if this was Hero playing, for example, I think I would be favoring Hero at this point. Because while there are Lurkers out right now, this is not really like a late game unit composition yet. We've got a lot of Zerglings and Roaches and stuff, and It doesn't really strike me as a very confident unit composition right here. Now, we do have a couple of disruptors here, at least getting some hits in before they die. Alright, fair enough. Cyan essentially going for every source of splash damage here, right? So he's got Archons, Disruptors, Colossi, and High Templar. Mothership coming up as the very first late game, proper late game unit here. Another interesting move. Not actually committing to going for carriers or Tempest or anything along those lines, at the very least not just yet. He does, however, start up the +1, air attacks here together with additional Stargates. So I think as these ground units are gonna fall, Cyan will make the transition towards carriers and Tempest and all the rest of it. But a lot of the European pros right now are a big fan of adding on a couple Tempests before going into carriers, and then the Mama Ship kind of rounds out the unit composition. Good storms over here. Some really nice Disruptor Novas as well. Dark trying to push all of this back, but Zergling run by here, trying to get some work done. Cyan with the really quick reaction once again. Battery overcharge, kills the Zerglings. Okay, Cyan, let's go, dude. He's honestly doing a fantastic job. I like that Dark, by the way, is still using the Locust here pretty much on cooldown. So this has something to do with the way that the Koreans use their Queen Injects. So sometimes they accidentally fat finger a hotkey, kind of like I hit the B button when I, mean to hit the V button. Anyways, they sometimes accidentally make a swarm host, and usually they just sort of kill it themselves. Big hits. Lovely moves right there by Cyan. He does lose a couple of his heavy hitters as well, but nothing all too crazy. Looks like additional probes have gone down over at that base, but, with 7 Nexus available, Cyan can just make a round of probes, and he's gonna be back up to a reasonable amount. Now, these units over here on the production tab, Hydra Lingbane, transitioned into Hydra Lurker Viper with Lingbane for support is really nice. It's really nice until the heavy Skytos units hit the battlefield. Here's the Mama Ship. This is, of course, not yet the new multiplayer balance patch. As a matter of fact, the Mothership is gonna go through a bunch of iterations because it's already changed compared to when I first made that balance announcement a couple of days ago, or maybe sometime last week. Actually, about a week and a half ago or so. Ooh, looks like there was a little bit of a pause in the game. Zoom bug. All right, if anybody could translate that, that would be awesome. I have no idea what he's saying, but ready, go, go. All right, apparently he had a zoom bug. Do you think he means his camera zoom, or do you think there's a bug zooming around his head? This is always something you gotta keep in mind. There's definitely a chance that he's talking about a fly. Anyways, probably not. No, I think his camera was probably zoomed in somehow. Okay, Zealots over here are getting shut down. This is nice though, yeah. So, Vipers abducting units into Lurkers is the Zerg dream, right? So, that's really lovely. I would love to see Cyan right now committing to a proper late game transition though. Yeah, there we go. Carriers coming up. Now, what do you do against carriers as Zerg? Generally speaking, it's Corruptors. Notice how in this game though, Dark has not got a Spire. And without a Spire, his upgrades are gonna fall very far behind. Like, these carriers got started up as +1 was already finished. I would love to see Cyan, if I can be critical, go for the +2 air weapons as well. Super important upgrade, makes the carrier substantially more powerful. The interceptor ships all fire twice each, and every carrier can carry 8. And every single one of those interceptor attacks gets +1 damage, where you get those air weapon attacks. So basically you get a massive damage boost when you do get those air weapon upgrades as Protoss. Okay, Lurkers over here moving forward. Yeah, what are you gonna do about this without flying units? I mean, you can try and bowl your disruptors in, and maybe that's the plan for Cyan, but I think what he's doing is just giving up this position entirely instead. There's one there's one hero Dark Templar trying its very best. Oh, you know what? Dark's not even really gonna commit here. Lovely decision actually there by Cyan. I think a lot of Protoss players would have panicked and gone back home, but Cyan's saying, yo, that Nexus really isn't that important. The gateways, I mean, I don't really need them anymore at this point. Some good abductions. There's the time warp as well, though. Gonna make it difficult for Zerg to continue the aggression as the movement speed as well as the attack speed is reduced by half. Or increased by half. It's multiplied by half. Anyways, some good defense, man. I'm actually really impressed with the way that Cyan's playing this. Maybe I shouldn't be. He's been around for a long time and he is really good at the game. Plus, he's born one day before me, so, you know, that automatically makes you, okay. Looks like one of the observers of the game may have lagged out. Jimmy Micro, dude. And Glide? Can't believe it. Anyways, some very impressive stuff here. Like, the way that Dark wins a lot of his games is by overwhelming the opponent, right? Like, smothering them with all kinds of aggression all over the map. So, Nidus Worm here, Zergling run by there, Banelings hitting in every single angle. And when the first big group of Banelings hit, I kind of felt like that was the game we were gonna get, right? Because suddenly, 30 probes ended up going down. Cyan, yeah, was not able to defend against everything. But he's been doing an excellent job throughout this game overall. That's not enough anti-air for Zerg. Yeah, you can pull that unit all you want, but the Mama ship itself packs a punch as well. It's got some lasers, parasitic bomb, sure. He did accidentally kill his own observer there, which is not quite ideal. More Nidus worms though, dealing a bunch of damage over here. Carrier has just popped out. Robo facilities, reincarnated or not, they're gonna get destroyed. Excellent moves here. Excellent moves here by Cyan. I really like that he's actually not committing to defending that. Even though he's got the units to shut it down pretty easily, I think he's smelling here that the opponent's, yeah, ground to air is really not that strong. Now Corruptors are coming up. The only thing I don't like here is that Cyan never got the additional air weapon upgrades. Would have been really good to see. Do we have detection over here? We probably don't, but now the Corruptors are out, and I think it's about time for Cyan to retreat. That's exactly what he does. We do need some detection over here, but the problem is obviously those robo facilities have gone down. We're gonna recall the units instead, and... okay. Turns out everything's A-okay. Yeah, Revelation. That's one of those oracles, I believe, from the early game. Maybe not. He did make 4 of them in total. Maybe this one was added on a little bit later, but regardless. 7 High Templar coming up right now. I think we're gonna morph at least a couple of them into Archons. Okay, I was gonna say. 3 Archons coming up as well. And that is a nice base for this unit composition, right? So, at this point, this is an interesting collection of Protoss. It's basically different eras of this Protoss army grouped up together. There's one Adept around, a High Templar, we have some Colossi, now some new Archons. There's that Mama ship that was, quote-unquote, rushed out earlier. I mean, it's a cool combination of units that maybe originally wasn't intended to work together, but they certainly have some synergy. Dark still trying to overwhelm the opponent with all of this aggression. But so far, hasn't really happened yet. As a matter of fact, I think the door for Dark to transition towards, for example, Infestors, it's starting to close. The simple reason is that there really isn't that much gas remaining anymore on his side of the map. I would really not mind seeing him make like a dozen Infestors in a game like this. I think that's what he normally does against a lot of players, but there's not that much gas anymore available on his side of the map. He needs to be very careful that he does not get carried away with this aggression, and I wonder if he hasn't already gotten carried away. Vipers are nice. Yeah. He wants to abduct the Mama ship really badly. This mothership has been putting in a ton of work, though. Okay. Oh, well, you're asking for it now. Okay, the Time Warp did indeed go down, though. Oh, no, he can't commit because the Time Warp is down. We do have a big Zergling run by over here, killing all of those probes, but I'm gonna keep my camera over here, as it looks to me like Cyan is pushing back this Zerg base. And while he does lose a base as well in the meantime at home, well, home in the top right-hand corner, it's one of his vacation homes, I guess. This is a very important mining base right here for the Zerg, because it's really the only income that he's got. That being said, though, now it's 2 bases for one, and that I, of course, do like a whole lot better here for Dark. Cyan actually starting to lose a lot of supply here, but once again, he's not committing to recalling home. He's got recall available, but he decides, no, I'm just gonna continue fighting here instead. Dark doesn't really have the money here to quickly reinforce this either, right? It's not like he's like holding down an additional 20 Corruptors at this point in the game. That's what a lot of Zerg players would do, but Cyan is reading this game really nicely. He realizes that Dark doesn't have the money for it. Another big time warp going down. The Mama ship survives with just 2 HP. Now the Corruptors would have to commit by flying over all of those Archons, and that's exactly what they end up doing. But the Archons deal so much splash damage. Interceptor's still going to town as well. +2 attack or +1. Apparently it doesn't matter, as Cyan wins against Dark in a banger of a game. Some very cool decision making right there coming out of our Protoss player. Not just as far as like the engagements go and the lack of recalling, but also as far as his unit transitions go. Lovely play right here by Cyan. Now real quick, before closing out today's video, I want to give a special shout out to the Patreon supporters. In case you're unfamiliar, if you want to support the channel directly, you can go ahead and do so over at patreon.com/LowkoTV. For now though, take care, have a great rest of your day, don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.